Luther Madu, a 35-year-old tech billionaire, stood in his penthouse overlooking the glittering skyline of Dallas. The glass of vintage wine in his hand had lost its flavor long ago, just like the thrill of acquiring yet another car or closing another multi-million-dollar deal. Behind his success, behind the awards, the accolades, the Forbes covers, was a quiet void he could no longer ignore. Love, real love, remained elusive. Women he met admired his empire, not his essence. They memorized his bank balance but never noticed his heart. One evening, his longtime friend and legal advisor, Raymond Ease, stopped by for their usual drink and unwind session. Luther, unusually restless, spilled his heart. "Ray, I've had enough. I want to find someone who doesn't see me as a walk-in investment portfolio." Raymond raised a curious brow. "So what's the plan? Retreat to a monastery?" Luther chuckled. "No, I'm about to open the largest hospital in Texas, state-of-the-art everything. But I'm going in undercover, as a janitor." Raymond blinked. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," Luther said. "I'll go by a different name. Nobody must know. I want to see how people behave when they think you're a nobody, especially in a place where hierarchy screams louder than empathy." Raymond leaned back, arms crossed. "You want to find love in a mop bucket?" Luther nodded. "Exactly. You'll handle the press. Say the owner's overseas. I'll be there from day one, sweeping, cleaning, blending in." The opening day of Radiance Medical Center was like a red carpet gala disguised in hospital scrubs. News anchors buzzed outside, doctors in crisp white coats and nurses in flawless makeup paraded through the glass doors, proud to be part of the biggest medical facility in the region. Raymond, in a tailored navy suit, addressed the staff in the grand lobby. "Welcome to Radiance Medical Center. The owner sends his regards from abroad. He believes in every one of you. Excellence is not a suggestion. It is the standard." Applause followed. Luther, now wearing a generic navy jumpsuit with a name tag reading Joseph, stood in the back with the cleaning crew, invisible to those clapping. Nurse Charmaine Turner, recently promoted to head nurse, glanced back and scoffed. "Look at them, mopping floors and breathing our air. No ambition." The janitors stood silently. One of them, an old-timer named Olu, nudged Luther. "First day?" Luther nodded. "Yup." Olu grunted. "Watch out for the ones in white coats. Their ego's bigger than this building." Luther chuckled. "Thanks for the warning." By noon, doctors debated protocols, nurses gossiped, and janitors faded into the background. Joseph Luther mopped the entrance hallway when Charmaine nearly tripped. "You blind? Watch it," she snapped. "Sorry," Luther muttered. "You janitors always in the way. This place deserves better," she added, before walking off with a dismissive flick. Laughter followed from a corner where other nurses stood, sipping lattes. Dr. Malik Benson passed by, side-eyeing the cleaners. "They'll let anyone work here now," he whispered to his colleague. From a hidden office upstairs, Raymond watched it all on CCTV. "He's really seeing the truth now," he murmured. Later, during break, Luther sat alone in the corner of the cafeteria designated for janitors. The staff cafeteria looked like a high school lunchroom split by caste. He chewed slowly, absorbing the prideful looks, the snide comments. As he wiped the front glass doors that evening, a question lingered. Would he ever find someone who didn't care about money or status? Meanwhile, across the city in a modest neighborhood, A young woman named Rena Obasi carefully adjusted her daughter's braids while her father fried plantains in the tiny kitchen. Rena, a single mother and nursing school graduate, had endured more than most. Raised by her widowed father, who sold spare electronics to make ends meet, Rena learned resilience early. When she was assaulted by someone she trusted in college, she didn't let the pain define her. She carried the child, faced the stairs, and graduated with honors, determined to wear a nurse's badge someday. That morning, she returned home waving a flyer. "Papa, Radiance is hiring nurses." Her father's eyes lit up. "Is that the hospital with the glass roof?" "Yes, Papa," she said. "I'll go apply first thing tomorrow." The next morning, Rena wore her only pressed dress and kissed her daughter goodbye. She arrived breathless at the hospital only to hear the words that crushed her spirit. "You're 10 minutes late," the receptionist said. The nursing position was just filled. Rena froze. No, please." She walked out and sat on the steps, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her world collapsed in silence. Then a soft voice cut through her sobs. "Young lady, are you all right?" It was Olu, the elderly janitor. She sniffed, wiping her eyes. "I came for the nursing job. It's gone. I can't go home like this." Olu squinted at her. "You're trained, right?" "Yes," she said. "Then don't give up. If you're willing, they're hiring cleaners." Rena stood, resolved. "I'll take it. I'd rather mop floors than disappoint my father and child." Inside, the admin officer blinked in disbelief. "You're a certified nurse and you want to clean?" Rena nodded. "I'll do anything. Please." A few hours later, Joseph saw a new face in the janitor crew. Rena was on her knees scrubbing tiles with quiet determination. He paused, watching her. Olu leaned over. "That's Rena. She missed the nurse job, asked to clean instead. Firing that one." Luther smiled faintly. That evening, Rena returned to her small home. "Mama got a job," she told her daughter, lifting her with pride. Her father hugged her. "It's not where you start, it's the heart you bring into it." Back at the hospital the next morning, Nurse Charmaine barked orders. "Cleaner, this floor is dusty. You want patients to fall?" Rena bowed. "Yes, ma'am, I'll clean it now." From a distance, Luther watched her, the strength in her silence, the grace in her humility. Later that day, Rena's daughter fell ill. Her neighbor called, frantic. "She's vomiting. Come quickly." Rena rushed to the admin office. "Please, my daughter is sick. Let me go." She ran home, scooped up her burning child, and returned to Radiance begging for help. "Please help her," she said through tears. "She's only 5. Charmaine folded her arms. "You have money to pay?" "No, but I work here." Stella, another nurse, rolled her eyes. "Cleaner or not, pay first or leave." From the side, Joseph stepped forward. "This is wrong," Charmaine snapped. "Stay in your lane, mop boy." Dr. Samuel Adeleke, a pediatrician known for his quiet integrity, arrived just in time. "She's burning up. Bring her now." "But, sir," Stella objected, "I said now." Rena cried in gratitude. After the treatment, her daughter stabilized. Luther sat outside the room watching. For the first time, something stirred in his heart. Not pity, not admiration. Something deeper. Later that evening, Rena approached him with a shy smile. "Thank you, Joseph. You and Olu, I won't forget." He smiled. "You're brave, Rena. Never let anyone make you feel less than." And just like that, something unspoken bloomed between them. It was the beginning of something neither expected, but both desperately needed. 2 days passed since Rena's daughter Zara had been treated, and Radiance Medical Center buzzed with quiet rumors. Whispers floated through break rooms, hallways, and even the cafeteria. A janitor helped deliver a patient. A cleaner's child was treated by Dr. Adeleke. Someone said she used to be a nurse. It didn't take long before every staff member knew the name Rena. Meanwhile, Luther, still undercover as Joseph, kept a close distance. He watched how she moved, how she treated even the rudest nurses with calm dignity. Rena arrived early every morning, often bringing leftover jollof rice in a tiny plastic bowl to eat on break. She never complained, never gossiped, and never missed a shift. While others spent time applying makeup, in the restroom or scrolling through Instagram reels, she scrubbed floors until they sparkled. On the 4th day, something unexpected happened. As Luther mopped near the reception, a loud commotion broke out. A pregnant woman collapsed at the entrance, screaming. Her water had broken. The receptionist panicked. "Someone call the maternity team," she yelled. A crowd formed quickly. Nurses Charmaine, Stella, and another one named Tony stood nearby but made no effort to help. "She needs to go to the maternity wing," Charmaine said flatly. "It's not our department." The woman's husband pleaded. "She can't move. Please help." Stella sipped her smoothie. "We're not midwives. Sorry." Rena heard the noise from across the hallway. Dropping her mop, she rushed forward, eyes assessing the situation instantly. "She's in active labor. We can't move her now." "Who gave you authority?" Charmaine barked. "You're a cleaner." "I'm a trained nurse," Rena replied calmly, "and I won't let her die here." She grabbed gloves, hot water, and a towel from a nearby utility cart and knelt beside the woman, guiding her breathing. "Push with me," she said. "Deep breaths." Within minutes, a baby's cry rang out, loud and alive. A collective gasp moved through the crowd. Some clapped. Others stood frozen. Then Dr. Kalichi Ogbonna arrived. "Who did this?" he demanded. "I did," Rena said, holding the newborn. "You're a nurse?" "Yes, but I work here as a cleaner." Dr. Kalichi looked at the other nurses in disbelief. "Why didn't you help?" No one answered. The new mother held her baby close, whispering thank yous between sobs. Her husband kneeled before Rena. "You saved my family," he said. "I don't know how to repay you." Rena helped the woman onto a stretcher and disappeared into a side room to clean herself up, heart pounding, hands still shaking. Outside, the story spread like a wildfire. In the lounge, 2 junior doctors whispered, "That janitor's a nurse?" One replied, "She did what none of us did. I heard the patient and baby are fine." Charmaine, Stella, and Tony sat in the nurse's break room with faces carved from stone. "She just wants attention," Stella spat. "She's pretending to be Florence Nightingale," Tony added. "Well, it worked," Charmaine said, chewing her gum. "Now management will feel sorry for her." Meanwhile, in a small courtyard behind the hospital, Luther sat with Olu and Rena during their short afternoon break. She handed them 2 small plates wrapped in foil. "I made this, just a little thank you, for you both." Olu unwrapped his with delight. "Jollof rice and plantain? I haven't had this since last Christmas." Luther opened his quietly, the aroma lifting his mood. "You didn't have to," he said. "I wanted to," Rena replied. "When Zara was sick, you both stood by me. That means something." They ate under the shade of a mango tree while nurses passed by pretending not to notice. Rena glanced sideways. "You've been kind to me, Joseph, but I keep wondering, why did you choose this job?" Luther paused. Things were difficult. I couldn't find anything else. Are you a graduate? She asked. Yes. Then don't stop applying, Rena said gently. I'm a nurse, yet I clean floors. But I won't stay here forever. I believe there's more waiting. This job is temporary, not my final story. Luther looked at her, struck speechless. For the first time in years, someone believed in him not because of his money, but because of who he appeared to be. He nodded. I'll keep applying. They smiled, a warm silence growing between them. But their moment was cut short when Nurse Stella ran in from the front. Help! Someone fainted! Rena jumped to her feet and dashed back inside, already checking gloves in her pocket. Luther followed at a distance, watching her move with speed and focus. That evening, in Chris's office, Dr. Calici entered unannounced. We need to talk, he said. Chris gestured for him to sit. There's a girl, Rena. She works here as a cleaner, but she's a nurse. I saw her deliver a baby this morning. Flawless technique. Calm under pressure. She's better than half our staff. Chris leaned forward, intrigued. I'll look into it. Minutes after Calici left, Luther walked in. We have a situation, Chris said, or maybe a miracle. Luther nodded. I saw everything. So, Chris said carefully, what now? Luther stood silently, then turned toward the window. We start preparing the reveal. Chris blinked. You're ready? I've seen enough, Luther said, and I've met someone who changed everything. The next morning, the hospital bulletin displayed a surprise announcement. The owner of Radiance Medical Center has returned and will be visiting the facility soon. Panic erupted. Charmaine choked on her tea. Stella checked her nails. I need lashes, Tony yelled. He can't see me looking like a tired frog. Rena, mopping the maternity hallway, read the message and whispered, I hope he's kind. Luther overheard and turned. Why do you say that? She smiled faintly. Because rich people often build hospitals and never care about what happens inside them. He stared at her quietly. She had no idea she was speaking to the owner. But instead of offense, he felt something deeper, a quiet promise. He would be different. He would prove her wrong in the most beautiful way. 3 full days passed, and Luther, known in the hospital halls as Joseph the janitor, had vanished without a word. No one saw him in the mop room. No one noticed him wiping down windows or hauling trash bags before sunrise. To the average staff member, perhaps he was just another cleaner who quit. But to Rena, the absence gnawed at her more than she admitted. She found herself glancing toward corners he used to occupy, checking the supply closet longer than necessary, expecting that calm smile, that soft nod, that gentle voice saying, "Morning." But it never came. By the afternoon of the 3rd day, she could no longer contain her worry. She approached Olu, who was adjusting a mop handle with his usual patience near the storage hallway. "Have you heard anything from Joseph?" she asked, trying to sound casual. Olu shook his head, his brow furrowed. "Nothing. No call, no message. He's never done this before. That boy never missed a shift." Rena bit her lip. Maybe something happened. What if he's sick? What if he's in trouble? Olu sighed. "I've been thinking the same. He never gave us his number. He just showed up every day like clockwork." The two stood in silence for a moment until sharp footsteps echoed behind them. Nurse Charmaine appeared, arms folded, mouth tight. "Where is that cleaner boy?" she snapped. "It's been 3 days. If he's not back tomorrow, I'm reporting it." Rena straightened. "He took sick leave. I think he informed management. Think? Charmaine narrowed her eyes. Listen, this hospital doesn't run on maybe. The owner could arrive any minute, and we can't have missing staff when he does. You better tell your little friend to come back before he loses his job. And with that, she pivoted and stormed off, heels clacking like gunfire. Rena turned to Olu. I need to go speak to management before someone does it first, just to make sure he doesn't get in trouble. Olu nodded. Smart. Ask for Mr. Chris. He handles staff issues. He's on the top floor. Minutes later, Rena stood in front of a sleek glass door with the words Administrative Office stenciled in gold. She knocked softly. Come in, a calm voice replied. Chris looked up from behind his desk as she entered, her hands nervously folded. Good afternoon, sir. I'm sorry to bother you. I'm Rena, a cleaner here. I wanted to talk about my colleague, Joseph. Chris nodded slowly. Go on. He hasn't been to work in 3 days, Rena continued. He's never done that before. We don't have his number, but I'm worried. He's a good man, sir. I don't want him to get in trouble. If you know someone who can check on him, please. He doesn't deserve to lose this job. Chris studied her face for a long pause. Then he nodded gently. Thank you, Rena. I'll look into it. She smiled, relieved. Thank you, sir. As she turned to leave, Chris whispered under his breath, Luther, you're a lucky man. That evening, in a quiet, gated neighborhood miles away from the hospital, Chris knocked on a grand wooden door. Luther opened it himself, wearing joggers and a plain t-shirt. You look like you've been hiding from the CIA, Chris teased. Luther chuckled tiredly. Just needed to clear my head. Chris stepped inside. Well, while you've been hiding, someone's been worried sick. Luther raised an eyebrow. Who? Rena, Chris replied. She came to my office, said she didn't know what happened to you. She was genuinely worried, begged me not to cut your salary. Luther sat down slowly. She really said that? Word for word, Chris said. She said you're a good man, that you wouldn't just vanish unless something was wrong. That kind of care, it's rare. Luther looked down, a smile growing on his lips. She's different. I figured, Chris said. So, what now? Luther didn't answer. He stood and walked to the window. Below, his manicured lawn gleamed under security lights. It's time, he said quietly. Time to reveal who I am, but not suddenly. I want you to announce that the owner is back in the country and will visit soon. Let them sweat a little. Chris grinned. You want them to panic first? I want them to face themselves, Luther replied, especially those who live by titles. The following afternoon, the hospital's internal bulletin and WhatsApp group flashed with a sudden update. Attention! The owner of Radiance Medical Center has returned and will be visiting the hospital in the coming days. All staff are to maintain the highest level of professionalism. The effect was instantaneous. In the nurse's break room, Charmaine spilled her coffee. He's coming here? What day? What time? Why wasn't this announced earlier? Stella dropped her mirror. I need new lashes. My wig's a mess. Tony adjusted her uniform. This man must not see me looking local. Suddenly, the same staff who mocked patients, ignored calls, and sneered at cleaners were walking faster, talking softer, and volunteering for extra shifts. Pride turned into panic. Meanwhile, in the mop room at the back of the hospital, Rena sat with Olu wiping sweat from her brow. So the owner is coming. Olu nodded. About time. I'd like to see the face behind all this. Rena exhaled slowly. I just hope he's kind. Some rich people build hospitals but never care what's happening inside. Behind them, Luther walked in silently, holding a water bottle. He stopped at the door and looked at her. Why do you say that? She turned, surprised. Joseph, she exclaimed, standing quickly. Where have you been? Are you okay? He smiled. I'm fine, just needed some time. She stared at him, relief flooding her face. I was worried. I even spoke to management. I know, he said gently. Thank you. They stood there for a long moment. She didn't know she had just spoken her heart to the very owner she hoped would be kind. And he, standing inches away, knew he was falling harder than he ever expected. That night, Luther lay in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Rena's voice echoed in his mind. I just hope he cares. And for the first time in his life, his heart wasn't filled with strategy, expansion plans, or stock reports. It was filled with her, just her. The morning sun rose bright over Radiance Medical Center, glinting off the polished glass walls as if the building itself knew something monumental was about to unfold. Staff bustled with an anxious energy they hadn't shown in months. The cafeteria was suddenly spotless, nurse uniforms were double-ironed, and even the security guards straightened their postures as whispers of "he's coming today" passed like static from one hallway to another. The tension in the air was sharp enough to slice. Upstairs in the administrative office, Chris adjusted his collar and nodded at Luther, who was finely dressed not in a janitor's jumpsuit, but in a tailored gray suit that fit like it was made for royalty. Ready? Chris asked. Luther inhaled deeply. As I'll ever be. They entered the elevator, and as it descended, Luther's heart pounded not from fear of judgment, but from one name echoing louder than all, Rhina. The elevator doors slid open, and silence fell like a curtain. Doctors, nurses, technicians, kitchen staff, and cleaners all stood in rows, as if rehearsed for a royal parade. When Luther stepped out, his presence alone shifted the room's oxygen. He removed his sunglasses slowly, revealing the face they all knew but only as Joseph. Gasps rippled. A cleaner faintly whispered, "Wait, no, is that him?" Nurse Charmaine dropped her clipboard. Stella froze mid-step. Tony covered her mouth, eyes wide. Olu stood near the entrance, eyes glistening. Rena, however, wasn't in sight. Luther walked calmly to the center of the lobby and faced the sea of staff who once ignored him, mocked him, or smiled only when necessary. His voice, calm yet thunderous in weight, filled the space. When I opened Radiance Medical Center, I had a dream. Not just for excellent equipment or top-tier doctors, but for a place where every human soul was treated with dignity, whether they walked in with designer shoes or with no shoes at all. So I came here undercover, as a cleaner. A ripple of shifting feet moved through the staff. Some dropped their eyes in shame. Others held their breath. And what I witnessed, he continued, broke me. His voice was steady, but his words pierced like arrows. Many of you wear your titles like crowns and your pride like armor. You mocked those beneath you. You ignored those in need. You laughed at pain and belittled the ones who kept this place running. And yet, in all that darkness, there were stars. His eyes scanned the room. Dr. Adeleke, you stepped forward when a child needed saving. You acted not out of rank, but out of compassion. You're promoted to senior pediatric consultant. Applause broke the silence. Dr. Ogbonna, you brought truth when others were silent. You now lead the emergency department. More claps, louder this time. And, Olu, he turned to the old janitor, who now trembled. You showed more integrity with your mop than many did with their stethoscopes. From today, you're no longer part of the cleaning staff. You are now Staff Welfare Supervisor. Your job is to remind every department what humanity looks like. Tears rolled down Olu's cheeks as the staff erupted in thunderous applause, but Luther raised his hand and the room fell quiet again. And then, there's Rena. He turned to the spot she usually stood, but it was empty. A pause. Rena came here to apply for a nurse position. She came late. The spot was gone, but she didn't leave. She took a mop instead. Whispers stirred. She was mocked, insulted, denied care for her sick child, yet she never stopped being a nurse, not by title, but by heart. A security guard stepped forward and whispered something in Chris's ear. Chris turned to Luther and nodded. She's on her way. Just then, the glass doors swung open. Rena stepped in, wearing her usual faded cleaner's uniform, breathless, having rushed back from home after her neighbor told her what was happening. She stopped at the edge of the crowd, confused, eyes scanning the strange hush. Luther walked toward her slowly. She saw the suit, the confidence, the eyes she thought she knew. "Joseph?" she asked. "No," he said softly. "My name is Luther Madu. I'm the owner of Radiance." Her face turned white. She took a step back. You lied to me." "I never lied," he said. "I only hid the truth to see who would treat me like a person and not a bank account. And Rena, you saw me before anyone did." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "But I told you everything. My pain, my daughter, my past. And you were testing me?" "No," he said quickly. "You were never a test. You became the answer. And today, in front of everyone, I want to give you what you always deserved." He turned to the staff. "From this moment forward, Rena Obasi is the new head nurse of Radiance Medical Center." A beat of silence. Then the building shook with applause. Some clapped in shame, others in celebration. Rena stood frozen. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why me?" "Because you never stopped being a healer," Luther said, "even when the world called you a cleaner." Her father and daughter appeared behind her, led in by Chris. Zara ran into her mother's arms. Her father's eyes welled with tears. "You made it, my daughter. You really made it." Later that week, in the grand auditorium of the hospital, with the media present and every staff member seated, Luther stood before a microphone. "Today," he said, "I make the most personal announcement of my life." He turned toward Rena, who sat near the front, wearing her new white uniform with pride. "Rena Obasi, will you marry me?" The crowd gasped. Zara clapped from her seat. Olu let out a joyful cry. Rena, eyes filled with tears, walked toward him slowly, smiled, and said, "Yes." 2 months later, in a quiet garden surrounded by flowers and sunlight, Rena became Mrs. Madu. The wedding was small, beautiful, and full of love. Zara wore white and called Luther Daddy with ease and joy. Back at the hospital, Rena addressed the staff now as their leader. "This building is not just brick and glass. It's a heartbeat. And from now on, no heartbeat will be ignored. We don't clean for dignity, we live with it. We don't treat because we're trained, we treat because we care. If you cannot respect every soul here, this is not your place." Applause shook the walls again. Luther stood beside her, smiling not as a billionaire but as a man who had finally found what he'd been searching for. Someone who saw him without the suit, without the title, and loved him anyway.